makes you feel alive.
Welcome to Naked Truth with me, Nat, also known as That Nakery Girl. We have a very exciting guest in the studio today. We have the amazing Imogen Townley. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, you might know Imogen already. She's been on programmes like Ibiza Weekender, done some radio presenting. So, how did you first get into showbiz, Imogen? I know that was like part of your life that you've kind of come from and you've gone under a massive transformation lately. But let's just touch on it a little bit just to give everyone a little bit of background.
Of course. So for me, it was... the dog's pure. Sorry.
We've got a little dog guest with us, little Bruno.
Bruno's here. He goes everywhere with me. He's settled now, so sorry.
He's chilling.
My dad, Bruno, be quiet. So it was a mad one for me. So I kind of like been through some stuff in Liverpool when I was around 18. I actually had a breakdown when I was 18. Was in spent a bit of time in a mental hospital and things like that. And then when I got out, I was kind of like, okay, I've got one life. What do I want to do with it? And I'd always kind of had this sort of thing about going abroad. So I booked a one-way flight to Palma. I had a suitcase, a little bit of money in my back pocket. I had no idea where I was going. I had no job. I had nowhere to live. And I remember getting on the plane and being like, when the plane was like reversing, about to go to the runway and take off, I remember going, this will either make me or break me. Now, when I've got to Spain, I've ended up then in Magaluf, just becoming like a worker, a rep, and done that for a year. But because of that first year that I moved away, I actually then got scouted to be on TV. So it was never anything I ever considered doing. I'd never been like, oh, I want to be on telly or I want to be famous in the public eye or be a reality star. it was never anything that crossed my mind. And then it was kind of like the opportunity presented itself. I said no 4 times. I was like, no, I'm not interested. Like, I don't want my mum seeing what I get up to while I'm living abroad in Magaluf and I'm drunk. But also it just wasn't anything that really resonated with me. But with a bit of persistence and kind of me going, well, it's obviously presented itself for a reason, I kind of just like took the opportunity and ran with it. And I'd done one series, which, to be fair, the first series was a fly-on-the-wall documentary. It was never meant to be a reality show, but then obviously over the years the format changed. So I'd done the first year and was like, oh, well, that was a bit of fun. It got me back to Maga, got to see me mate, another season abroad. And then they came back and was like, they've recommissioned it for 2 and 3. So then we done series 2 and 3 in Magaluf. Then it was like, okay, we've recommissioned it, we're going to Ibiza. So then there was more in Ibiza. Then it was a spin-off show in Croatia, and it just kind of like unravelled over the years. So for me, it was never something that was a dream growing up or something I wanted to do. It was something that I used to say fell into, but I do see it now as I've got older. It was a massive part of my journey as well, leading up to this, with obviously getting the platform and going through and living through that industry itself, which, yes, there was loads of amazing opportunities within it, but it's a tough world to live in, a very tough world in. It's very external. It's very about the way you look. You've got to be a certain way. And even though I grew up in it, being authentic is what I thought I was, like, I'm being me. I was very conditioned in it as I grew up in it. I spent my 20s growing up in the public eye. So obviously I was very conditioned through it. So it definitely did play a massive part of obviously my 20s, but it wasn't something that, I ever considered doing. It just happened.
Just the opportunity just came about.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So within that, but did you find that, obviously you said you just thought you were being your authentic self. Was you made to sort of say certain things or act in certain ways, and could you really be your authentic self within that world?
Yeah, I'd say like it's called structured reality. So it is not in a sense where they would give you a script and tell you what to do, But obviously they would structure it in a sense where they go, okay, right now we need you to stand on reception and guests are going to come. You don't know who's coming through the door. So all your reactions are natural, but the way they set the scene up isn't natural, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you kind of like, you were able to, you know, react however you wanted. But I think the sort of pressures of it as well is you get put into a hotel which is rigged with about 30 cameras just set up. You are mic'd and filmed 24 hours a day.
Wow.
You have your phones taken off you, so you've got no contact to the outside world. You get very minimal time to speak to family members. And stuff like that. So they put you, a bit like Big Brother, they put you in a complete bubble where nothing else exists except that world. And I think that in itself, you know, does condition you, because it is like structured kind of things like, okay, so we get up at this time, we have new guests come, and then it's right, it's all based around who do you fancy, who do you want to pull, who can drink the most, who can, you know, play the most drinking games. So there's no maneuver to be authentic and explore avenues within yourself of who you may be, because the only way they want you to be is a crazy drunken monkey entertaining people.
Yeah, because basically they just think it's entertainment.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, basically at the detriment of anything that you do want to
authentically
be.
And I think for me, like a big sort of realisation point for me is I left the IB for weekends and took a year out. Went travelling, went to Thailand, started, you know, it was like, I remember I was about 26 and I was filming the last series of Ibiza, and we were all out and, you know, we're sitting there, they've got the cameras on, they're like, right, play drinking games, and it's like, way, Ibiza, play drinking games, pass the ice cubes and all that, and I was sitting there and I was just looking around me, and it was like, now I know it was my soul, my higher self was just going to me, you're not meant to be here. And the crew were like, what's up with you? And I had this big realisation. I was like, no, this isn't my life anymore. I'm not meant to be doing this.
Yeah.
So I pulled away and took a year out. And then they came back with a spin-off show in Croatia. And we're like, we know you've taken a year out. We've got a new show. It's completely different. It's older guests, you know, it's more chilled. It's Croatia. It's more higher end, da-da-da. So I fell into it and went, yeah, okay, I'll come and do it. It's coming up for a reason. And I remember getting there, and you always do a green screen, a piece to camera, so with the interview, yeah. So it was like, so Imogen, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? I've been like, well, I've gone to Thailand. I've really been like, you know, learning about myself, getting zen, you know, learning to control myself, because, you know, I was like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
When I was younger, which was TV gold for them, obviously. And obviously, you know, they were seeing a sense that I was, even though I was at the very beginning, I'd say, of my journey, there was a sense in me that was deeper and was becoming more authentic, and they cut the camera off and was like, no, we don't really do deep, because deep isn't entertaining, it's boring.
Wow.
And I was like, well, why am I here then if I can't be myself? And I was obviously, that was day one, and I obviously done the show, and it was like they tried to poke the bear with me. They tried to fuel me with alcohol. I wouldn't kick off, it didn't work, because I was a kick off back in the day. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, we'll bring her ex on. She's not seen for 2 years. Let's see if that'll kick her off. And they just kept trying to poke the bear. And that for me was like the big clarity and realisation moment of, they don't care about my mental health and my well-being as long as they get what they want from me. Yeah. That's all they're bothered about. And I remember coming home and crying my eyes out to my mum and being like, I wish I never done it. I made a big mistake, you know, I really regret it. But I don't see having any regrets in life, because I needed that last confirmation, that final realisation to go, yeah, when I stepped out, when I did, was the right time.
Exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, you would have been like, maybe what if?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I needed to go back to get that big realisation of like, yeah, definitely this isn't my world anymore. Yeah. And yet I've never done a reality show since.
Wow, okay, amazing. So Thailand, what was that like? Obviously, we were speaking a little bit before we got recording about the lovely Bruno.
Yes.
So how did you find Bruno in Thailand, and what happened?
Yeah, so I've been to Thailand. I think I found Bruno the third time I went to Thailand. No, second time I went to Thailand, sorry. So I was living over there with a couple of friends. They'd set like a sort of online business and offices over there, and I was kind of, you know, the face of it and stuff like that, and kind of helping with the marketing side of it and stuff. And obviously over there, like, it's well known for, like, you know, there's a lot of stray dogs. You know, there's no animal regulations over there. Like, if you own an animal, you can do it as you please. And yeah, it's quite bad with sort of the animal cruelty over there and things. So they do a lot of like night markets where, you know, they will sell dogs in cages as like pretend pedigrees, like they don't come with paperwork or anything like that. But obviously if they don't sell the dogs, or the dogs aren't in good enough condition, they will just either like drop them off outside the temples, or they will just throw them in the streets and just can't throw them away. And then obviously a lot don't survive, and then the ones that do then are stray dogs. So Bruno was the last of a bunch in a market cell. But unfortunately for him, he was covered in hundreds of ticks, fleas, you know, malnourished, and, you know, obviously no one wants to pay for a dog in bad condition. So Bruno was going to be homeless and have nowhere to live, and he wouldn't have. He was only about 5 weeks old, so I found him. We found each other in Thailand, and I just knew. I remember looking at him and just and going to him. I was like, I was like, you okay, little man? I was like, you need someone to save you. I said, you need someone to love you. And he just put his little paw up at me. It was like a film, I swear to God. And I just knew there and then. I was like, you need to get him.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone says, like, I saved him, but even though I was living in Thailand, people think that was amazing. I was over there, and I was going through quite a bad point with me mental health. I was in a very, very mentally toxic relationship. I was very detached from my family, very detached from the world. And when I found Bruno, it was like he became my strength and the light and the purpose in my life again. So it was fate that brought us together. And here he is now.
And he's so relaxed and like so chilled. I can't believe it. He's just like having a little nap there.
He's a proper little Zen dog.
Yeah, he is. He's so cute. His energy is lovely. Like you could feel it when he come in the room. I was just like, he's so lovely.
Yeah, he's constantly smiling.
Oh, amazing. So coming from that place where you said you felt quite detached and things like that, how have you then transformed your life to this amazing path that you're on now? And I'm loving looking and watching it from the sidelines. It's incredible. So how did you find yourself on this path, and what's been going on the past?
God, so much. So I think I've always been deep, if you want to use that sort of terminology for it. I've always believed in fate. I've always believed that things aren't coincidences, and I've always believed that there's more to the world than, you know, what meets the eye. There's a lot more magic within it.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite sure why, but it's something I've obviously always really grown up believing in. And I think for me, I got to a point where, like, obviously being in the industry and, you know, battling myself with mental health, with depression, with also suicide attempts as well, and just seeing the world deteriorate with mental health, and with there being a lot of darkness and in the world, and a lot of detachment, and, like, you know, with technology coming in and sort of taking over. And I remember just looking at the world and being like, the world's not meant to be like this. And I was just like, it's just something in me was just going, it's not meant to be like this. The way society is not the way of life.
Yeah.
So I think just that in itself sparked in me to start exploring what was life meant to be like, even just if it was for me personally. And then I just started to meet people. I think because my curiosity came into play, and I think I was, you know, obviously, you know, putting it out there to the universe that I wanted to understand the world more and understand life and how we are meant to live as you know, as human beings, well, as souls in human bodies in this experience. So I think naturally people just started coming into my life. You know, I had people coming in introducing me to, you know, plant medicines. I had, you know, shamans coming in, healers coming in, and just naturally from that I started to explore it all. So started with like meditations, then sound healings, doing a bit of Reiki, yoga, I think. But I think the main massive thing for me that sort of helped me on my journey and understanding was working with the plants.
Yeah.
The plants was for me completely remove the veil for me, and to understand how, you know, we are made of energy, and how, you know, have the power within us as well to self-heal. I done an NLP course, a neuro-linguistic programming course, along with a hypnotherapy course. I fell onto that as well.
Wow.
That just presented itself, was like, I don't know why, but I'm meant to do this. And I went on a 6-day course. And the first couple of days, it was like the ego. Why am I here? What am I doing here? Like, I don't understand why I'm here, but I know I'm meant to be here. And then it got to about day 3, and we done some hypnotherapy work. I was still very much dealing with anxiety, really crippling anxiety, where I couldn't go into anywhere busy, anywhere public places. It was a battle to even get down and go on the course, even though it was only like a group of like 8 people.
Yeah.
And the coach, who's a really good friend of mine, Phil Quirk, he's brilliant. He works with like Olympic athletes, you know, people who run big top businesses. He works with people with their mental health and mindset.
Yeah.
And he sat and done a thing called anchoring. So it's where you go into a deep hypnosis trance, and you decide what state you want to anchor. So because I was riddled with anxiety, I wanted to be able to anchor a state of calmness to me whenever I was put in a situation where anxiety would be triggered.
Yeah.
So he's put me into this deep meditation, this trance. He's been guiding me through, taking me to a place of complete, absolute bliss of calmness. And as he's doing it on me little knuckle, he was anchoring that state to me as I was, you know, creating through visualization the feelings and vibration. Then through him, he was anchoring it to me knuckle. So he's brought me back around and then gone, and I've gone to him, I don't reckon it's going to have worked. And he went, touch your anchor. And I've literally just touched my little knuckle, and as I've done it, it was just like, boom. And this complete calmness just absolutely took over my body. And that was like my realisation moment of how powerful we are with the right guidance, tools, techniques. And I remember just bursting out crying and being like, thank you, you've changed my life. Wow. So then for me, it was exploring our minds and our bodies as well, and the connection between the two, and how different tools and techniques, you know, give us the power which we all have within us, but we are conditioned through society, through growing up, to believe that we are powerless, when really we are the most powerful things in the world. Yeah. Once we know and understand and experience that. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. And we're never like taught to see that, are we? So when you do catch a glimpse of it and you start to explore it, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, who knew?
I know. I get that a lot. Like, I love talking, but when I done a past life regression a couple of weeks ago, and I remember.
Okay, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that was all I came out saying, like, wow, because it connected so many dots into emotions and sort of patterns and things that I was struggling to release in this lifetime, because I'd carried the resonance through from a past life into this life, and it had kind of unfolded in this lifetime, and it was just like, wow, honestly.
Wow. So it makes a lot of sense when you start exploring stuff like that, because you start seeing like, okay, this is why this maybe would have happened, or this is why I was in this situation.
Like, prime example, it's just a tiny snippet of it. And so when I was younger, and like my mum I was always a tomboy. Like my dad used to say, our Imogen's the lad I never had, because he had 2 girls. Like, you know, I'd be out in the mud eating worms, footy, loved it, proper tomboy. And when I was younger, people would come and go, oh, look at the little girl in a pram, isn't she dead cute? And I used to go, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy, and this is my truck. Never knew why, but I used to. And when I done my past life regression, it turned out in a past life I was a young boy in sort of Western times called John Paul. Oh. And I lived on a farm. and I had a white horse, which I'm dead drawn to white horses.
Wow.
And we obviously had like a truck and a tractor and things. So it's just little things that you come through into this life that you never understand. And then the dots start connecting backwards and you're like, what?
Wow, that is amazing. I'd love to do one of them past life things.
Yeah. Ed, who's a really, really good friend of mine in the heart healing, he does them. I went with no expectation. Didn't know why I was meant to do it, just knew I had to do it. And went, and it really helped me sort of release any sort of trauma that I'd carried through into this lifetime as well. Like, and really helped me let go of it, because I was like carrying trauma that I didn't understand why I was carrying.
Yeah.
And it was making no sense. And then on the day I was going through that process of understanding it wasn't mine, he reached out and was like, come and do your past life regression now.
Wow.
And we done it, and then it all just like made sense.
Yeah,
It's proper magic, isn't it?
Proper crazy, because we all have a certain amount of trauma, don't we? Like, we all have a certain amount of trauma that we carry through, and as you say, it just plays out in your subconscious, and you don't know it's affecting your conscious behaviour until you start to explore it further, and then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So plant medicines. Let's talk a little about what plant medicines have you explored?
So I was first, I'm very lucky in the sense with the, like, well, people call them psychedelics, because I've always used them for healing.
Yeah.
I've always used them ceremonial as well. Whether that's creating the space myself or sitting with a shaman. So I was first introduced to mushrooms.
Yeah.
Which for me are so special in a sense. I can feel myself getting emotional before I even talk about it. So I wouldn't say I fell off my path, because you never fall off your path, but I kind of slipped back into the industry last year. I went through a bit of quite a I wouldn't say traumatic, but quite a uncomfortable breakup with me ex, who actually introduced me to the plant medicines and sort of opened my eyes and kind of unlocked that door for me to step into sort of the spiritual path.
Yeah.
So naturally, when that sort of dynamic broke down, I slipped back into the industry, was back at all the events, the parties, the drinks, the drugs, fell back into that lifestyle. People, stabbing you in the back, just a lot of negative energies around me. And I took a really, really bad dip just over a year ago, and I tried to commit suicide. And it was very, very lucky, obviously, that, I didn't, I left a letter and everything again this time. And I kind of spent a couple of days in hospital and stuff, and the hospital was amazing. And then I came out of the hospital and took myself away for a little bit. So I went down south to a friend's in Henley-on-Thames. So it's right by the river, lots of land, lots of nature, lots of greenery, countryside, not a big city, so not many people knew me down there. And I just spent a lot of time just kind of sitting in nature on my own with it. And I took so obviously some of the mushrooms down with me, and went and sat by the river and sat with the mushrooms. And obviously I'm having this beautiful experience, everything's visual, everything's amazing. But then there was this one point on the journey where I was sitting on this bench and it was getting quite intense. But then I remember looking at my skin, and I remember looking at my hands, and I could see everything that we were made of energetically. I could see the flower of life, the geometric shapes. I could see the beauty of how the body is put together and what we are actually made of when we don't just see the solid.
Yeah.
And I just had this absolute realisation of how beautiful my human body was and the human experience was. And I just sat there and held myself and just cried and cried and cried, and just promised myself from that moment that I would never, ever, ever hurt this body again. I would never try and escape this body again, because this body is beautiful. This body is part of me. And for me, they are so special in that sense. You see about the research, you see about people, using the psychedelics, the mushrooms and stuff to help with mental health problems. And from someone who has experienced it themselves, this is the first time I've actually spoken about it, but I think we're at a point now where there's a shift happening, and I think it is important for people to say they're not just things to take to get trippy and to, what I mean, to be cool tool to be with your friends. Like if you use them in the right way, ceremonial, they're so powerful.
Yeah.
And they're so powerful, and they can definitely help so many people, even just in one sitting with them.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. And it's good to see that there's more research and there's more like open-mindedness about that topic.
Of course.
Because I think there's been a stigma about it for so long, and we've got a certain level of conditioning where we see like alcohol and we see like things like tobacco, and because they're legal we don't think much of them. But then when you see psychedelics, and because they've got that stigma, it's kind of took people a while, I think, to like open up.
Yeah, of course. I seen it because I seen an article on it the other week as well. So it was in Canada. There was 3 end of life patients who were really struggling mentally with obviously coming to terms with coming to their end of life.
Yeah.
And they went to court and they won the case to take on, to be able to take the mushrooms, the psychedelic treatment, to help them with their end of life care plan. To me, which was just so astonishing and so hopeful as well. Do you know what I mean? Because like you said, they've just got a bad rep because you just see class A drug and it's like, oh, it's a drug, it's really bad for you. Do you know what I mean? And they can be abused, like anything. Anything can be abused, but like I said, if they're understood and they're used in the right setting, then the power of what they can show and the deep healing that they can help create for yourself, because I think we heal ourselves. It's the plants and the medicines are there to create the safe space and are the tool. It's another tool to help you to be able to sort of deal through whatever you're going through.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always about the intention and the setting and things like that. And obviously mental health's on the rise more than ever right now.
Exactly.
With what's going on and stuff, and just like the world at the moment, there's so many people struggling with mental health.
Of course.
So to have that kind of, to be called to do that and to let the plants facilitate that healing, it's like a blessing, really, isn't it? Of course.
Because I sat I've actually sat with Mother Ayahuasca. It's been a process. I haven't just delved into anything, you know. It's something that I've been aware of, but I knew unless I got called to that medicine, I wouldn't just go for the sake of doing it or saying I've done it. You know, I've worked with mimosa, with the DMT, all for deep healing. I've always gone in ceremonial with intention. I've always had the space held for me by a shaman. You know, I've always gone in for deep healing, and then I got the call to go to Mother Ayahuasca, and I've sat with the medicine. I actually sat with the medicine to do like me deep inner child healing, which for me was the biggest thing, because everything stemmed for me from inner child. I think it does with a lot of people, and so I knew it was the right space to sit in. I've sat with her twice now, and I kind of like went in to do the deep inner child trauma work and sort of start releasing and moving that energy, which then became a process when I came home. Like I said, that you know, you don't go in and it's like, oh, they're going to fix everything. It's a quick fix. It's you. So for me, it was afterwards the plant, the medicine helped me start to move and understand and break down the deep-rooted trauma. And then it was a process of me coming away, nurturing me in a child, sitting with me in a child, giving her a space to speak, to be angry, to be sad, so we could then work together and to move that emotion through me to purge, whether that was through writing, dancing, creating music, crying, you know. So it was a beautiful process. But one thing that the medicine also did show me was that she has come into the West to, you know, because there is a lot of healing. We're so disconnected. We're so disconnected in the West and the way society has been built up, that she, you know, the earth wants to live in harmony with us. Do you know what I mean? But it can't live in harmony with us if we continue to carry on the way we're doing. That's why things are unfolding the way they are. And she wants to work and live in harmony with us and reconnect with us, so we can reconnect with ourselves and with the land as well. But the one thing she did say is, like, you know, is about taking her sacredly, to take her sacredly and to not abuse her.
Yeah.
Because some people are going into it, especially with the DMT, people like this terminology of space juice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
blast off. It's just another way of escapism.
Yeah.
And people are going into it and they're taking these medicines and then coming out and seeing all these things and not having an understanding of it. So they're either not able to get the message or the guidance, or it's scaring them because they're going, oh, I don't understand what's going on. Oh, and they're freaking out, and then it's detaching them even more from it.
Yeah.
So it is, and she you know, she showed me that and told me, you know, it's about creating these safe spaces, and to create these ceremonial sacred spaces for her to be used and her to be experienced and to be connected with us. So
yeah, definitely. I think it's always important, and the way you've spoke about it has been so spot on, because there is a lot of people who just go and abuse things, and you've got to look at the way like the earth's just getting abused in general.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? By our society.
Yeah.
It's like we have become so far so disconnected. And when you have like indigenous tribes, I know a couple of people who've been and spent time with tribes, and they've said like they can't believe the way we're living like in the West, and how like bad things have got, you know, a lot of it is just due to the way we live, unfortunately, isn't it? So it is. It's finding that reconnection with nature and like using that creativity as well, because you've got into music lately, haven't you?
Yes, found me purpose in isolation.
Amazing.
And now it's like it's been tough. It's been like not hard for me to say this, because I completely embrace it, you know, and it's about stepping into the light. Like I'd say 2020 has been probably the most important and probably the best year so far in my life. And I'm not saying that's because I've not felt any darkness, because I have. I've sat with my trauma, I've sat with my shadow. I've, you know, when we first went into isolation, I remember thinking, okay, stuck in a flat, in my bedroom, all my depression's going to get triggered, you know, them days of, and it did, waking up and being like, I can't get out of bed, I don't want to get out of bed, and being completely like just I was crumbling in on myself again, and I kind of expected it to happen. And I remember I did speak about it on Instagram and was saying to people, like, you know, because I used the CBD as well, which is really helped me with calming my anxiety, helping me with sleep, the panic attacks. And I remember saying to people, I know a lot of people, this is going to really, if people have struggled with mental health, it's going to trigger and snap a lot of people back into their old patterns. And the people who haven't, it's going to start these triggers because of the environment that we've been made to sit in. So it was really, really hard at first, and struggling to get up. Them suicide thoughts were coming back of, you know, what's the point in getting up? You know, as humans, if we don't feel like we have a purpose, you know, it's an easy dark hole to sink into.
100%.
And I think I just remember waking up one day, and I bought a guitar when I was 16 and always wanted to learn to play. It was only like a little £30 guitar from Dawson's. And you know what? And it's gone it's moved every house with me. Like my mum must have always took it every time she's moved, because I live with my mum. And it's always been in my bedroom, just collecting dust in the corner. And I just got up one day and I'd had enough. I'd had enough of slipping back into the dark. I was like, I've spent enough time there, I've done all this hard work, and I know it is really hard to get out of, but I think it just sparked this fire within me, to be this strength within me. And I just got up one day and I looked at my guitar, and I'd gone through a massive process of the fear of death. I think I spent a week, I've got an older dog, Ruby, like our childhood dog, and I think just for no reason, every day she'd come in the room and I'd look at her and I'd be like, oh my God, she's going to die. Oh my God, my dog's going to die. And I was just living in this absolute crazy feeling of death. But I think because we were feeling it collectively, like this whole fear of death was, you know, everyone was consumed in it. But it got me to the point of kind of going, okay, well, we have only got one life to live, you know, and we've got all this time to sit, you know, where we have to sit with ourselves. And I was like, and I've always wanted to learn how to play guitar, because I'd always wanted to just write one song and go and do an open mic night somewhere. So I was just like, there's no time like the present. So I done my friend Chris is a really, really, you know, talented guitarist, been playing for 16 years.
Yeah.
So he gave me like a 90-minute lesson, just, you know, showed me the basic chords and, you know, and then I was just kind of, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd feel them anxieties come in, I'd feel the, you know, the dark thoughts come in, and I would just pick up my guitar. So I thought, even if I can't get out of my room and get out of my bed, I'm going to turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
And I'd just pick the guitar up. I wouldn't get a wash, wouldn't brush my teeth or nothing, but it didn't matter because no one was coming anyway around to visit. And I would just sit on the bed and I'd just play and play and play. And then the first song I ever wrote was actually a song from me higher self to me lower self, about being in that dark place. It's called Don't Jump. And it was about not, you know, jumping and and giving into them sort of darker feelings and darker thoughts of not wanting to live and not wanting to be here, and sort of me higher self coming in and saying like, you know, you're so loved and you're so strong and that you're meant to be here. So every day when I'd wake up and if I had them thoughts of like, you know, I don't want to live, I don't want to be here, I would just sit on the bed and I would just sing that song over and over to myself again, and then my music became my therapy.
Yeah. You're singing to yourself.
Yeah.
It's like that advice to yourself.
Yeah, that you need.
Like journaling and like everything.
Exactly.
I sometimes do it, like even like writing captions and things. I'm writing it to me really, to say like, this is the advice I'm giving to myself.
Yeah.
And then if anyone else takes anything from it, then
exactly. And then that's what I found. I found then when, you know, the isolation lifted and I got to, you know, go out a bit, meet a couple of friends down the beach or in St James's Gardens, and I naturally just started like playing some of my music and people would be crying and I'd be like, whoa. And then I realised, like you said, I wasn't just writing it for myself, it was music that could resonate with other people.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, there's something in this. I feel like there's a message that I can spread through my music, and I've just kind of trusted in it and ran with it. And then I was saying before, because I've been away, because I've just got a camper van, and I was ended up in a little town called Bangor, and I ended up on the street sitting with this beautiful soul called Aaron, a busker, and I ended up sitting on the streets of Bagnor busking with Aaron, and I was just like, this is life.
Wow,
I was like, just,
that is amazing.
you know, not for money or anything like that, but and I seen like young girls walking past going, oh my God, this Imogen, oh my God. And I'm sitting there just singing this music, you know, that, you know, I'd see it as conscious music. It's music with a message, you know, music about self-love and about, you know, being connected to the earth, to nature. And it's just music about my journey, you know, and I'm seeing people in the streets stopping, listen, resonating with it. And I'm just like, okay, okay, cool, yeah.
And there's never a more better time.
I
literally.
know.
Do you want to give us a little song on here?
Oh, I'd love to. Not at all.
You've got your guitar with you.
I have.
Lovely.
Reveal itself
I
when
love
I'm
your
meant to.
guitar.
It's beautiful.
Oh,
it's
no, I got it
fantastic.
over here. So she's Luna, which I'm connected to the moon.
Yeah.
So she's a travel piece guitar, so she's half size, and she's got peace in every language in the world, and the way she's been crafted with the wood and the strings is to spread the vibration of peace and harmony when she's played all around the world.
Wow.
Yeah, so she basically was perfect for me when
Amazing.
I found her.
Yeah, perfect.
So I'll just tune it up really quick. Don't jump. I know these times are dark. Tired one, you've already got this far. So don't give up. don't want to. I'll wipe away your tears and help you face all of your fears. And I believe in you, and I will make you too, because you're made of strength and you are made of beautiful. You are made of beautiful. So step back. You know it's not your time.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much.
I get so nervy. It's mad when I'm like out on the street, I'm sound doing it, and then you put me in front of a microphone and I'm like, hey.
It's hard. I even find it hard talking in a microphone, never mind like singing and playing guitar.
But thank you so much, because it's helped me like start to overcome that with having like the microphones and the cameras and stuff. So thank you.
Oh my god, so amazing. Like just so talented, and like to think that you found that, like really explored that during lockdown.
And now
is like incredible. And I'm sure like loads of people from listening to your music and listening to the lyrics and how much it resonates with so many people who are struggling. And I know a lot of people personally who are struggling, who I'm gonna like send them the link and be like, listen to this, like just like, because as I say, it's so common now for people to be struggling with mental health, and to write meaningful music like that. A lot of music can sometimes not have that like heartfelt meaning behind it, and to know that that's like coming purely from your soul and your higher self is just like so refreshing. And that was just incredible. Thank you. So what are your future plans from here, because you've just got a camper van? So you were telling us a little bit about that. When was it? So in June, I obviously started exploring my music, and then fell across, by fate of the universe, a community called the Rainbow Family of Love and Light. So it's this community who travel around the UK to different parts of the land and live nomadic. So it is completely, no technology, you go out foraging for your food, it's full of musicians, healers, money doesn't exist there, it's exchange. So, you can exchange something you've got for healing and things like that. So I fell upon it and went to go for a week, and ended up living on the land, nomadic for a month. Completely disconnected from my social media and my phone and stuff, which for me was hard because of having the platform and it being quite a big part of my life, and a big responsibility I seen it as, having a lot of followers and people wanting to know what you're up to and stuff like that. But it was absolutely necessary for me to sort of take that break away from it all, just so I could kind of explore me a bit more. So I went there first, and just being on the land, like I know I spoke obviously about, the medicines and the plants and all that, but even just going out in nature and living on the land was just like such a profound experience. The beginning was like a complete ego death. I was like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. Get back to the city. Who do you think you are? Mixing with all these musicians and healers. You're not this. And I really struggled for the first couple of days that I got there. Well, I was dead excited to get there, and then by day 2 through to about day 4 or 5, I was like, oh, dead heavy, felt dead disconnected. But it was a process that I had to go through. And then I moved, because I was at top camp, and then I moved down by the river, and obviously being Pisces and being a water baby, I moved me tent and pitched up right on the riverbank. So every morning I'd wake up, the first thing I'd see would be the water. I would get in the water, I'd wash in the water, I'd meditate in the water, I'd sing to the water, I'd write music at the water, and I just started really getting a lot of clarity and a lot of downloads while I was there, really connecting with the land. And just as the weeks went on, I found me absolute child essence and innocence just completely come through.
And I was like running around, felt like just this free child running around, like climbing trees. You know, I was just so happy. You know, there was no cares in the world about like having to be a certain way, look a certain way, you know, no like phones, nothing like that. And I came out of Rainbow and came straight back to the city. I had to get straight back into work, promos, doing this, doing that, and it was like a really, really hard sort of integration back into city life. And I was just kind of like, wow, okay, I need to be on the land more. I need to be out in nature more. You know, it's where I feel authentic. It's where I get most of my inspiration for my music. It's still very, very, it's a very healing thing. Like you said, to go out for a walk. Do you know what I mean? Just to be out in nature. Yeah. So I've been able to get away for like little weeks, little weekends, like over the summer with me tent, and I would just go off on my own and pitch up, spend some time out in nature. But then I found every time that I come back to the city, I was just like really struggling to be in four walls, you know, because it's been like a hard place for me to sit for such a long time. Yeah. So the more like I kind of sat with it, I was just like, I need to be like travelling more and being out in nature. And I'd already sort of played with the idea of getting a camper van back in the April after going out with a couple of friends in the campers, like Scousers in a van, Mick and Kennedy and a couple of my other friends. And then I think it just came to me then. I was like, I need to get a camper, I need to get on the land more. Yeah. So I started to save up a bit of money for a camper and started to look for one. And then I found Dora. So Dora's my camper, and I used to always get called Dora the Explorer because I was always off on my travels with my backpack, and I get signed from my guides from Spirit, which are sunflowers. Yeah. So when I've met the woman who was selling a camper, well, she wasn't selling a camper, she was at the car sales place doing a part exchange on a car, and then a camper, they sort of were talking about camper vans because they were trying to help me look for one, and she said, I don't even know why I said it, I just went, Alice, I'll sell you my camper. And I was like, and as soon as she showed me a picture of it and I seen the sunflowers, the name, everything, she was everything that I wanted, and I'd manifested it. Yeah, I'd manifested it, and I was just like, oh my God, she's mine. But she was a bit over my budget. But I was like, she's over my budget, but she's mine. And I was just like, I've just got to trust in it. So I put everything I've absolutely got. Like I was saying before, I think I've got about £40 left in my bank. Just paid me bills, I've got 40 quid left. And I just put all my money into the camper van and was just like, I've just got to completely trust this. I've been shown all this for a reason. So I've just got to completely trust. So I've just got Dora, my camper van.
Amazing.
I'm building my music collection up, which is kind of coming into me as gifts from friends at the moment and all that. I was like, I really want a shamanic drum. Oh, but they're 450 quid. And then my friend's like, I've got a shamanic drum here. I feel like you'd really, really like benefit from having this. And like, I'm just getting, you know, me and people around me, like we're all coming together and helping me. So I've just started doing like little trips out and you know, getting used to being out and about and stuff. But the plan is it'll be next March. So I'll be turning 30 in March. And then from March I'm going to be going completely in the camper, off grid, and I'm going to be living out of the van and just travelling. Wow. Yeah. So I think the plan is I'm going to start a YouTube channel because, you know, I know I've got this platform for a reason. You know, it's an important part of, you know, my sole purpose, what I'm doing. Yeah. And I want to be able to sort of, not just the young generations, but show everyone about like reconnecting, you know, with nature and how it is so healing for us. And, you know, me just kind of, I've been in front of a camera for a decade of my life with a false identity. So now it's kind of like I want to be able to show people the real me and who I am, you know, and if that can help just one person, whether it's through a song I create or whether it's through, you know, just getting out in nature and it sparks people to want to go outdoors more or, you know, do yoga or everything like that. The way, like, you know, you have your channel and I watch your channel and find it so inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
I do, honestly. And I just thought that's what it's about now. It's about people being authentic and just kind of leading the way, showing the way. So yeah, from March when I turned 30, I did not know what I was going to be doing for my 30th birthday, but I knew my 30s were going to be like the best to come. Yeah. So yeah, from 30 I'm going to be living on the road in my camper van with my music. And yeah, I'm going to take some recording equipment with me and just start like creating music and recording music on the go and start busking in little towns and just trust and see where I end up.
A new little chapter, like a new big chapter.
I know,
like...
it's so complete, like opposite ends of the spectrum from walking red carpets and winning awards and all that, and now I'm like in a little van, back to basics.
Yeah.
That's what it is, simplicity.
It is. It's that, just like the basic, just love and connection. Like that's what humans, that's what we want, and no matter how many behaviours like mask that or try to escape, you know, that's what we're all like longing for at the end of the day, is that love and connection. And it seems like you've found that, and it's amazing. And you know what I love most about your story is you haven't been afraid to like deeply transform, because change is scary for all of us, and it's that fear of like the unknown. And when I hear your story, that just sticks out to me, is the sense that you haven't attached too much and you haven't been scared to change and completely, you know, undergo this huge life change, which would be overwhelming for anyone.
Yeah, I think it does always have moments of it. Like, I have had the moments of it. Like, I think I remember 3 years ago when I completely stepped out. I remember, like, I had no money, I had no identity anymore, I had, you know, no job, didn't know where I was going, was back at my mum's. But for me to stay where I was, you know, depressed, suicidal, so unhappy, just in so much darkness, it was like, even though this is really scary to step into the unknown, it would be even scarier to stay in the darkness. So it was just kind of, I think that gave me the strength to kind of push through. And even on the whole path and the process, because it didn't come to light straight away. It's been 3 years, and I'm only now just starting to see it coming through,
exactly.
like what I'm meant to be doing, and it's amazing. But even still, I have them little thoughts of like, you know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, even leaving the city, you know what I mean? Like, I thought I'd be, when I got daughter, I'd be dead excited to get off, and I felt this resistance and this anxiety within me, and I had to really sit with it. I went and sat with it and was like, you know, why am I feeling like this? And even though I know I need to go, I had this sort of sadness and fear about leaving this whole identity and this whole life behind, and like leaving my family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the fear, like, it is still there, but it's like you said, it's not denying them feelings and suppressing them, and just kind of like sitting with them and giving yourself space to process. You know what I mean? We don't need to rush this healing journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've got like our lifetime.
Exactly. I know, and it takes time. It does, because even though I still have it, I'm still, you know, my ego still comes through, and I have to sit with it, and I have to, you know, have a chat with it, and then me and a child will come through and be getting upset and scared and that, and you know, I'm still working my way through it and stuff. But the more I keep working through it and be persistent with it, then, you know, things are becoming easier as I go along.
Yeah, 100%. It's that self-awareness, because a lot of the time, like, we can have that toxic positivity almost, where we're just like, be positive, and we deny them feelings that, you know, that really meaningful, and we need to sit with them and understand them, and like really like label them in a way without attaching to them. But we need to be able to say, you know, I'm experiencing sadness, or I'm experiencing anger, because the more we suppress, like, I've been through that myself, I used to just suppress my emotions and be like, I'm not going to feel anything, I'm just gonna you know, be positive and put this brave face on. But the more you suppress things, the more like it comes up for you, like it can all just build up and build up.
And then it just comes out like,
exactly. Exactly. But that fluidity is a lot linked to your Pisces energy, and you did give me your birth details before the podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited for
so
this.
We've got a little bit on your chart now. Obviously you don't know your birth time, so
I know
it's not, it can't be as accurate, because we can't do like the houses and stuff like that and the house placements, but we have got some like a little basic overview.
Yeah, thank you. That's something I need to get. I keep saying to me mum, what's my birth time? She keeps saying, I'll get it. Still waiting.
Yeah.
Patience. Teaching me patience.
Yeah, I mean, in America, they have the birth time, you know, on the birth certificate, but in the UK,
we
they don't.
I
know, because my mum was a bit confused about mine, but then we got to the bottom of it. But there is really skilled astrologers out there that can tell you your time, you know, if you do some questions with them and stuff. So it can go really deep. So obviously this is just really, really basic overview. But you've got Pisces sun. So that just explains that fluidity. It explains like the dreamy, like nature, the being in touch with like the psychedelics, the plant medicines, even like being creative, compassionate, like that's all that water, Pisces energy. And it's just so clear to see, like, just from being with you and spending time with you. And you've got your moon in Taurus, so your moon rules your emotions. So Taurus is like basically the 5 senses. So anything that you can like see, hear, smell, taste, that's like Taurus energy. And you can find that with the moon in Taurus, that can bring you like a lot of emotional support. Like feeling things through your 5 senses can bring you that level of emotional support. Like even just liking the little things in life, like being cozy, maybe with like a cup of tea, being comfortable. Like that's what can like bring you like comfort. And it takes a lot for a moon in Taurus to get like worked up or angry, but then when they do kind of get angry, they're like angry. So you were saying that earlier, weren't you? Which is obviously like, that's like obviously on the lower nature, because every sign's got a higher and a lower energy. But obviously that's something that you've worked through and you've realised that early on, which is amazing. Because it's the bull, obviously Taurus is the bull, so it can be like
oh wow.
And yeah, it rules food as well. So it like, maybe, I know this is definitely for me, like I'm definitely a foodie, but it can be like having food to feel like emotionally like secure. You've also got Venus in Taurus, so Venus rules your values, and this is at 0 degrees, so it's on the Taurus decan and the Taurus dwad, so that's like triple Taurus energy, and you've got your Venus there, so this obviously amplifies the moon even more, and it's in the home sign, which is representing the 5 senses, so most definitely without a doubt a foodie like me, so I resonate with this, but then it could be a detriment at times because it squares Jupiter, and because Jupiter's such a big planet, it's like symbolic of overindulgence and things like that, because it's like the biggest planet, so it like really amplifies that, and then that could be something that you've maybe been aware of, or that you are aware of.
Yeah, it is. That is like me sort of downfall, because I was going to speak to you about that, because I need to do all the skincare and all that. I mean, that's something that is really coming to life for me at the moment as well. It's like, even though like I'm really about being like a clean channel and a clean vessel, you know, because that helps guide me. Me one thing is me food. I know when I'm feeling a bit having an off day or sad, I'm just like, I want to pig out, it's fine, I'm allowed, it makes me feel good, and then afterwards like I'm like, no, it doesn't help.
No, that's like, it's so apparent in the chart, but this is why it's so amazing. As you say, this is just another tool, to understand ourselves on that deeper level, and to be able to see that, like there's things in my chart where I've been like reading it and I've been like, that makes so much sense, and to see it on like an astrological level just basically confirms it, and confirms anything that you might be like experiencing, or definitely. So we just have a few little quick fire questions to finish off.
Okay.
So I'll just get these off. So number 1 is fill in the blank. Speaking your truth is
being authentic.
Amazing. Name something that you are grateful for.
Life.
Best advice that you've been given.
Oh, these are meant to be quick fire, aren't they? Sorry,
everyone's the same. Yeah.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Amazing. And the worst advice you've been given, on the other hand?
Don't be too emotional.
Oh, okay, I like that. And your proudest moment so far?
Now. Would have to be, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, where I'm at now.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. Like, I'm sure that anyone watching or listening to this at home is going to take a lot of value from this episode. I've thoroughly we'll just leave that. I've really enjoyed this episode, and especially listening to your beautiful song, so thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And that, guys, was my Nakery.